Okay, more factoring methods, and these are simple trinomials. This is method number 4. I have about 7 methods that we can cover. Pretty much will help you with most of your factoring needs. So this is method number 4, and these are called simple trinomials. So you have to do a little bit of analyzation on these. So here's an example. So I've got examples of every type. Now, simple trinomials, in front of the x squared, there's just a 1. So we know that from our experience from using the FOIL method that if we factor this, this is going to be the product of 2 binomials. And the only way we can get x squared is the first term times the first term. Remember from the FOIL, first term times the first term. That's going to be x squared, so the only way we can get that is x times x. So we pretty much know we're going to start with this. And now we have to analyze the signs. Now we know by the FOIL method when we multiply these out, it's first times first, and it's the outside, inside, then the last terms. Outside, inside, then the last terms. And the last terms multiply to give a positive 20. All right, so if the last terms multiply to give a positive, that means that these two numbers have got to have the same sign. In other words, this term, this second term times this second term will give me this positive 20. So this tells me the signs, and that's these signs here. Not these signs, but it tells us that these signs, this tells me, if this is positive, this tells me that these signs are going to be the same. The signs are the same. These signs are the same. In other words, if this is positive, the only way I can get a positive number is if this number and this number have the same sign. Now, what are they? This tells me what they are. Signs are positive. That sign tells me what they are. So now I know that these signs are both positive. Okay. The signs are the same because I got a positive, and since this is positive, they both have to be positive. Now I need 2 numbers that multiply to give 20. And this is interesting because what sounds like same, sum. So they multiply to give 20, but their sum is equal to 9. So what are 2 numbers that multiply to give 20, but their sum is 9? Well, 1 times 20 is 20. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 doesn't go in there. And 4 times 5 is 20, and that works. So the numbers are going to be 4 and 5. And I usually write the largest one on the left. So I'll just write it over here. X plus 5, X plus 4. And you can check that out using the FOIL method. X times x is x squared. 4x plus 5x is 9x, and 5 times 4 is 20. So it checks out. Remember, first terms, outside, inside, last. Okay? All right. Let's try another example. And again, I know that I have to have an x here and an x here. So I want to analyze my signs here. So again, this tells me the signs. And little boxes are the same. That's the only way to get a positive. And this tells me what they are. In this case, they're both negative. So the signs are negative because this is negative. So I know my signs are going to be negative, negative. A negative times a negative is a positive, and they're going to have to add up because we had the outside and the inside are both going to have to add up to be a negative 6. All right, so I need 2 numbers that multiply to give 8. And again, if the signs are the same, we're looking for the sum. So they multiply to give 8, but their sum is 6. Same in sum. Same in sum. Write that down, sum. Same in sum. All right, so they multiply to give 8 and add it to be 6. So what numbers multiply to give 8? Well, 1 times 8, but those add up to be 7. 2 times 4, those add up to be 6, so those are my numbers. And again, I usually just put the largest one on the left. So that's going to be equal to x, negative, 4, and 6. And again, you can always check it really fast using your FOIL method. X times x is x squared. Negative 6. Oh, I wrote this down wrong. It should be 2 and 4, excuse me. Error. See when you check it, that's a good way to make sure you don't flub up. And I got my trusty white out here. And I had my numbers here 2 and 4. I just wrote them down wrong. Because I was looking at that 6 over there, excuse me. So that should be 2 over here. And you can see. Now we check it again. X times x is x squared. Negative 2x and negative 4x is negative 6x. And a negative 4 times a negative 2 is a positive 8, so it checks. So you're going to always check it just in case, so you might make an error like I did, and you'll catch it. Okay, now let's take a look at example 3. And again, we know that this has got to be x, this has got to be x, x. And we know that so we want to analyze our signs. And this tells us the signs are different, because if I multiply these two numbers to get this negative 48, the signs must be different. A negative times a positive, or a positive times a negative. So this tells me the signs in the binomials are different. And this tells me the sign of the larger. That's why so this is the sign of the larger. So this tells me the sign of the larger is positive. So I usually put the larger on the left, so positive and negative, just to be consistent. Okay? So we need two numbers that multiply to give 48. Now, what sounds like different? Differ. So they have to differ by 2. So let's take a look at the numbers that multiply to give 48. Well, there's always 1 times 48. And 2 goes into 48, 24, so 2 times 24, but those differ by 20. 3 goes into 48, 16, but those differ by 13. 4 goes into 48 12 times, and those differ by 8. 5, 6 goes into 48 8 times, and those differ by 2. So those are my numbers, 8 and 2. Well, like I said, I just usually put the sign of the larger to the left just to be consistent. And the sign of the larger is positive, so that's going to be 8 and 6. Now check it. X times x is x squared. Negative 6x plus 8x, well, 8x minus 6x is 2x, and 8 times negative 6 is negative 48, so it checks out. So use your FOIL method to check it out. All right? And our last example. Again, this tells me, so first of all, I know we've got x, and this is going to be our signs here. And this tells me the signs are going to be different. And this tells me the sign of the larger will be negative. Is negative. So I always put my large on the left. And that's what we've got. So we need two numbers that multiply to give 18. And they differ. Remember, differ by 7. So we can go over here. 1 times 18. That's 18, but they differ by 17. 2 times 9 is 18, and they differ by 7. So there we go. So we have x negative positive, and it would be, sign larger is negative, so it's going to be 9 and 2. And then check it. X times x is x squared. Negative 9x plus 2x is negative 7x, and negative 9 times 2 is negative 18. Okay, so there's your 4 simple trinomial examples. So I hope that will pretty much lock that in. And those are simple trinomials.